This is Real Estate Real Talk, a weekly podcast about real estate industry news that actually matters, hosted by some of the industry's leading agents. Here are this week's hosts.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Real Talk podcast. Our guest is Jack Cotton, who is a CRS certified instructor and a sales agent at Sotheby's International Realty in the Cape Cod area. Thanks for being with us, Jack. For our listeners who don't yet know you, can you please share a little bit about your background and how you became known for luxury real estate?
Well, that's kind of a long story, but I started in real estate technically in 1974. I started a real estate company in my college dorm room. It was a company of one. But what drew me to real estate was, as a kid growing up here on Cape Cod, where there was a lot of homes under construction, I was able to get lots of excess, surplus, leftover, soon to be discarded building supplies. And I would build tree houses all over the place because there were woods everywhere around where I lived. And when things weren't going that well in my life, which was kind of often, I would retreat to one of my tree houses and just sit in that space, and all would become right with my world. And I came to call that my treehouse feeling. And it's something I've never, ever gotten away from. And so I think that's what drew me to real estate. I didn't really know much about the business initially. When I went to college, I thought I would become a commercial real estate broker. I interviewed all over Boston for commercial real estate. And I quickly realized that those people would chew me up and spit me out. So I started a real estate business, one-person business in my college dorm room in May of 1974. That would be 52 years ago this month. I didn't know anything. I thought I knew everything. I knew nothing. I thought you just, put up a sign, bought an ad in the paper, and you just sold stuff. And it was grueling. It was difficult. It was discouraging. It was disheartening. I almost quit several times. It was really, really tough. I used to make my own signs. That's how pathetic it was. But I just kept at it. And I think it was like 10 years in, like in the early 1980s, I heard about CRS classes. And I took my first CRS class outside of Boston. And of all people to be my instructor, I was blessed to have Howard Brinton and Mark Pacific as my instructors. And Howard Brinton, as you know, is a legend within the circles of RRC and CRS. And I just kept taking these CRS classes, and it transformed my business. It just made everything make sense. It was like what I was looking for. It was like the North Star that I could follow to have a successful career in real estate. And so I owe a lot to CRS and RRC.
And besides just being in the real estate business for decades, you're also a CRS certified instructor. Can you explain how you got into teaching?
This business is my life. It is all I've ever done. I mean, even in those formative years as an 8-year-old building tree houses, it was laying the foundation for this business. This is all I've ever done. And I was, for maybe the first few years, I was lost in the real estate wilderness. I mean, I didn't know anything, and it was tough. And so there was no training back then, really. There was no one to turn to. And so I believe in that saying from Zig Ziglar, which is that if you help enough people get what they want, you can get everything that you want. And I love teaching. I love sharing. It keeps me sharp. I'm an old man now. Getting up there and being relevant and helping other people and see their eyes light up when they learn a new technique or they gain the confidence that they need to be able to do this. Because if I could do it, anybody can do it.
One of the most popular courses that RRC offers is one that you teach. It's called Succeeding in the Luxury Home Market. Why do you think this topic consistently resonates so well with agents?
Well, there's a whole perception of glamour and glitter. There are those shows on TV with the people selling these multi-million-dollar properties, and it's become a very top of mind. People watch it for entertainment, and they wonder, what would it be like to be in this realm of the business myself? What would it take for me to do that? And so there's a lot of curiosity about it. And quite frankly, I would tell all the agents out there, whether you're thinking of luxury real estate for yourself or not, there's nothing wrong with treating all of your clients, no matter what their price point is, like $1 million. So that the techniques and ideas you can learn from taking that RRC class, they will translate into any price range. Yes, they will help you break into luxury real estate. There's nothing wrong with treating everybody like $1 million because I don't care if it's a $200,000 house out in the middle of nowhere. That's that person's castle. That is the center of their life. That is the cornerstone of their whole financial being. So why wouldn't you treat them like $1 million?
So, Jack, was there a specific moment in your career where you realized that luxury real estate was what you wanted to pursue?
I wish could say I was that smart and forward thinking, but no, there is there is no moment. There was an evolutionary thought that occurred that came to me that, you know, Jack, you're 21, you look like you're 14, you're dealing with people who look like I do now, old, gray, and wrinkled, and they have the money, they have the wealth, they have the experience, they have the net worth and everything. How do I bridge that gap? How do I get them to listen to me? How do I get them to believe in me? How do I get them to trust me? And it just came to me that you have to be seen as an expert. And no matter what your age is, no matter what your gender is, no matter what your color is, no matter what your anything is, if you are perceived as an expert, people will seek you out. They will believe you because people in the high end, especially, they don't care about any of that stuff. All they care about is what can you do for me? And so if you can prove that you have expertise, they will work with you. And quite frankly, in the early days when I used to knock on doors, I used to knock on doors in rich neighborhoods, and I used to knock on doors in the neighborhood where I grew up. The only time I ever had a door slammed in my face and was insulted by somebody was when I was in my own neighborhood. It would never happen. The wealthy people just aren't like that. They're nice people, especially the ones who are self-made. And when you're just starting out in luxury real estate, I discovered, and I try to teach this to my students, that they will see a little bit of themselves in you. They will remember when they were making their way, when they were just starting up, and they will see that glimmer in you and want to engage you and want to have you help them with their real estate needs.
You mentioned a real fear that agents often have, the fear of rejection, of a door being slammed in your face, and that's a common misconception with the luxury market, that clientele really isn't like that. So that's one misconception. Can you think of any others for the luxury market?
Yes, the biggest misconception I hear is that you had to have been born rich and well connected to succeed in luxury real estate. And I will tell you that if you were born rich and well connected, it's a huge step up. If you know what to do with it, it can be a huge step up. However, it is absolutely positively not a requirement. Most wealthy people you deal with, think about this, research them, look them up, read their bios, find out what you can about them, and you will learn that most of them did not start out rich and well connected themselves. They started out like you are now, perhaps, maybe worse, maybe more challenging circumstances, and they made their way on their own. And they will appreciate, because like I said a moment ago, they see a little bit of them in you. And you just have to understand that and accept that. And there's still people, they still put their pants on one leg at a time. They still do all the same stuff you do. They're wonderful people. Everyone. Most people are great anyway.
The course you teach outlines a 7-step process for breaking into this luxury niche. Without giving away too much of the course, can you share a couple of the steps that agents might often overlook?
Well, the number one step that kind of covers everything is that we mentioned that a second ago. You must be perceived as an expert. And what the class teaches you is that there are 5 critical areas of expertise that you need to excel in and that people need to see you as being an expert in. Number 1 is markets and value. What's going on in your marketplace in terms of the numbers? What are the metrics of your market? What are the benchmarks in your market? What are things selling for per square foot or per front foot? Or, what are the benchmarks in your marketplace? Number 2, you need to be seen as an expert in pricing. How do I take that information about markets and value and bring it down to one particular property? And I would say of all the 5 areas of expertise, pricing is probably the most critical, because having pricing expertise, to me, is the quickest, most efficient way to build your reputation in luxury real estate. So it's markets and value, pricing. Number 3 is market preparation. How do you get a property ready for sale? Some people call it staging. I call it market preparation. You must be seen as a market preparation expert. Number 4 is marketing. How do you expose a listing to the world? How do you uncover, craft, and convey a story for that listing that is compelling and will capture somebody's attention in that 1 second you have to capture somebody online. And the fifth area of expertise is negotiation. And that's a fun one for me also. I like teaching the negotiation class. I don't do it that often, but I'm in a market where it's a second home market where I am, a retiree market. We have 4,500 people in my little village. It's a small place, but we have 23 billionaires. And so we sometimes have a billionaire on one side of a transaction. Occasionally, we have a billionaire on both sides of a transaction. How do I equalize the playing field between myself and them? We're maybe selling a big house, but they're doing deals in the hundreds of millions, if not the billions of dollars. That's intimidating. How do I equalize the playing field between myself and them? So you need to develop some expertise in negotiation. So the fast track is understand those 5 critical areas of expertise, hone in on pricing, because marketing your pricing expertise is a way to get to the gatekeepers who will bring you to the high net worth individuals in your marketplace.
Now, talking about pricing, what are some major differences when it comes to pricing the average home versus a luxury home? Are there things that agents need to be aware of when pricing for the luxury market?
Principles are basically the same, but on a luxury home, there are more things to be aware of. I mean, larger square footage, the construction oftentimes is more commercial grade construction because they're so big. A lot of times a regular home builder can't build a true luxury home because it's really commercial construction. And so you need to understand these finishes. We're just selling a house now where we knew this already, but the home inspector came through for the buyer and he said, just to buy the windows in this house, never mind installing them, but just to buy the windows in this house would be $1 million. And then to buy the doors in this house would be $1 million. And I said, yes, I know. So when we were listing that house, I walked in to see the people. I did not realize they were already talking to another agent. They were talking to the agent they had bought the house through about selling their house. And they just happened. It's a strange turn of events that brought me to their living room, but I was telling them stuff about their house they didn't know. So you need to really understand what goes into construction, what goes into making a luxury home. I mean, I know, for example, the difference in quality between a square hinge and a rounded hinge. What does it mean when there's 3 hinges on a door as opposed to 2 hinges on a door? What does it mean when the door is 2.5 inches thick, solid mahogany versus what you normally see in a house today? I mean, how do you recognize custom milled trim? How do you recognize, quarter sawn, rift sawn, or regular sawn floors in a house? So you really need to learn a lot about construction so that you can recognize these features, because for example, if you value this house on a normal way of valuing it, you might come up with, 4 or 5 million. We came up with 8 million and are selling it for very close to that because we understood what went into this property. We understood all the special features that were there. And the people, when we were sitting in the living room, the owners of the house said, we didn't even know this stuff about our own house. You've told us more things about our house than we even knew about ourselves, and we've been living here for 5 years. So you need to become immersed in it and love it and really and just do it because you love it.
Oh, that makes me want to do some research. And that's a great point when it comes to how to do a luxury listing presentation compared to a traditional listing presentation. And a lot of it is knowing the home and its true value. Are there any other specific marketing strategies that work particularly well for luxury properties?
Well, when I was at Celebration, I talked about the importance of telling stories, because stories are so if you're just starting out and you're young or you're this or you're that, and you're not established yet, and there's this big gulf between you and a potential client, how do you close that gap? How do you close that gulf? How do you connect with that person who you think is so different than you? They're really not, but you think they're really different than you because they're so rich and they make a lot of money, they have a lot of money, and they have an incredible house and blah, blah, blah. Storytelling is how you connect. Telling stories is how you synchronize your brain with their brain and how they come to trust and believe in you. So you really need to learn to be a storyteller. We tell sellers we're going to uncover, craft, and convey a story for your property. But as an agent, you also need to develop stories as a part of your listing presentation. So we teach in the class that you need to develop 3 to 5 USPs, unique selling proposition, USP. What makes you different, better, and more valuable than your competition? What are 3 to 5 things that you can really, point a finger to? And then wrap that USP in a story. The story about how it helped another seller get a better price or a quicker sale or overcome something because of that USP that you have. So storytelling is a critically important skill to develop, and how you can bridge that gap between yourself and someone else who's richer than you, older than you, everything more than you.
Nowadays, we are seeing a really competitive luxury market. How important is it for a real estate agent in this space to build their own brand, create their own blueprint when it comes to promoting themselves, whether it be on social media or just in the marketplace in general?
Okay, so here's a funny thought. Number one, I think there's less competition in the high end than there is in regular real estate. I mean, there's so many realtors, right? There's millions of them, but most of them focus on regular real estate, and only a few are in the high end. So you actually have less competitors. They're just more voracious and more capable, more entrenched, and maybe have a stronger brand than you do. So it's not as bad as you think. So how do you build your brand? Well, first of all, understand what a brand is. Most people think a brand is a symbol or a logo, and that is just an abbreviation, a symbol or a signal that points to your brand. But your brand is, what do people say about you when you're not around? Any company's brand is just that. What do people say about you when you're not around? So you want to develop those 5 areas of expertise we talked about, and then you want to market that expertise to the world. Now, it can be your little world where you are, or it can be the big world of social media and the internet and everything like that. But marketing your expertise to the gatekeepers for the wealthy people in your marketplace is how you build your brand. I'm a pricing expert. People in the high end are, as we teach in the class, are obsessed with minimizing taxes. And the taxes they detest and hate the most are inheritance taxes and property taxes. The strategies they use to not pay more than they should pay on those 2 areas of taxes, I won't get into, but they both need CMAs on a regular basis. They both need valuations from a qualified person on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be a certified licensed appraiser. It can be you. And so when you market your pricing expertise to the gatekeepers, the lawyers, the accountants, the CPAs, the trust officers, the banks, the private office people, the investment advisors, when you market your pricing expertise to them, you start to make their clients your clients, because these people need valuations every single year. Think about any profession out there in the world you deal with, whether it's a doctor, an insurance person, an investment person. They do a yearly checkup with you, and they tell you where you stand in terms of your insurance, where you stand in terms of your 401k, where you stand in terms of your other investments, where you stand in terms of your health, where you stand in terms of your estate plan. Why aren't we talking to people once a year about the value of their most prized asset, their real estate? So you have to get into that groove of being, marketing your services as a valuation expert to the gatekeepers, who will in turn bring you to the high net worth individuals they are dealing with.
Relationship building and staying in contact with your clients is always really important, but it sounds like it's even more important in the luxury market. So, how have you nurtured your client relationships over the decades that you've been in business, and how has that helped your career?
Yes, pricing expertise is what really, if I had to point to one thing, I would say is pricing expertise. Because when you build a relationship with a person by being the person who does their valuations every single year that they keep in the file in case the IRS calls about, their trust. Yeah, that's how you build that relationship. And we always try to do things that other people don't do. So the more people get more electronic and digital, the more we revert to direct mail and printed materials. So we do a lot of mailing, a lot of direct mail. My biggest challenge now, having been in business for so long, is that my customer base is dying, literally dying. And so when I'm here in my little area and the people's children are here in my area, I tend to get the business. But other times when the kids live on the other side of the country and they don't know me, it's more challenging to get the business. They'll go and reach out to somebody they played golf with in golf camp 40 years ago, who they heard as a real estate, and reach out to them. And so that's what sort of I'm competing with now.
So, if an agent wants to break into the luxury market, or if their current clientele are aging out, as you said, what are some unique ways that an agent can position themselves to grow their clientele that are luxury buyers and sellers?
Well, you want to be where they can find you. So we have a very strong social media strategy. We think about those 5 critical areas of expertise and we create content around that expertise. When you take the CRS Succeeding in Luxury Real Estate class, we actually teach you in that class how to write. We teach you how to use hooks. We teach you how to write compelling content that people want to read or see in a video that puts you out there as the expert. You are educating your client base and being seen out there, and it starts to build your brand to get people talking about you. So I don't want to keep promoting the class, but there's just so much in there. It really should be a 2-day class. We cover so much stuff, but it's like drinking from a fire hydrant.
Right. Hopefully, this gives listeners a little preview and encourages people to go and learn more and take the class.
I know. And I shouldn't say this because I'm going to get more email, but a lot of people who take the class reach out to me afterwards and ask me questions and send me examples of their stuff, which I'm happy to do as much as I can. But it's just so gratifying to me when somebody reaches out and tells me how much they enjoyed the class and how much they learned from it. And I have a question about this. Can you help me with that? Which I'm always happy to do.
That's really kind that you're always open to these questions to help other people. What is one mistake that you frequently see agents make when it comes to marketing luxury homes or even just marketing themselves?
Well, just making too big a deal about it. People hate writing and people hate speaking in public, but you need to get over that. You can't name one person who's successful in any field who can't speak in public about what they do. So you need to be doing that, marketing yourself and marketing your real estate. And the same thing with writing. You need to learn to write. Now, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but all we hear about now is AI. And that's a huge opportunity for you because what people on the high end don't want is anything generic. They don't want anything that's just like what everyone else has. So if we have 100 agents and they're all going to market this one house and they all put the same prompts into AI, they're all going to get the same copy. They're all going to get the same thing back from AI, sounding more generic, sounding more and more like each other. Luxury is rare. Luxury stands on its own. You need to hone your own skills to really, I've said this a million times today, to uncover, craft, and convey a story for your listing and work on it. It doesn't have to be every single day for hours and hours, but hone your own skills. This is a huge opportunity for you to stand out from the pack and be different and better and more valuable to your clientele because I'm not going to scrape the internet for copy about your house. I'm going to create something from the interview I'm having with you here today in my immersion in your property here over the next hour or so. I'm going to come up with some great copy and a great story for your property. It's not going to come from AI. It's going to be something specifically tailored and created just for you. That's what you have to get over.
Jack, can you give an example of a time when storytelling was the key to a successful transaction?
I have a funny story because I can't even believe this story. So we were selling a house during COVID for, I think it was like over $4 million. I forgot the exact number. And because of COVID and there was a short-term tenant in the house, the buyer had to buy it sight unseen. And I don't know about you, but I think $4 million is a lot of money to commit to buying something and you don't get to see it. You could drive by it, but you don't get in the house. And in this case, it wasn't for 4 months. 4 months, June to September. So the first time they were going to see the house was an hour before the closing, right? They're coming for the walkthrough. That's the first time they're going to get inside this house is an hour before the closing. They had put down their deposit, but the rest of their cash was about to be wired or was already wired actually to the attorney. And they're going to go see the house for the first time. So they're walking up the driveway. I'm tense. I'm nervous because what if it's something they don't like? It's going to be awkward. The first word out of the buyer's mouth was, Jack, that video you did, that story you told, now that's just for this house, right? You're not going to use that on someone else's house later on, right? That's just for this house. I didn't know I was stunned because of all the things I'm thinking about that he'd be thinking about, that was never even occurred to me. But he was worried that we were going to reuse that story. I don't even remember the story because we come up with something different for every house. Anyway, it's That's people fall in love with the stories. And they had 4 months to watch the video over and over and over again because that was the only connection they had to the home they committed $4.5 million to prior to the closing 4 months later.
As you were talking, I was thinking about just how good that story must have been that would make someone buy a home without even seeing it. But it must have been a story that made the buyers really envision themselves in that house, envision the life that they would have in that home. Now I really want to see that video.
Right. And so when we're, for example, when I'm talking about a USP during a listing presentation, nobody talks about, well, we're going to show you a house. Well, that's not a USP. Well, you can turn showing a house into a USP by saying, no, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're going to demonstrate your house. We're going to demonstrate the lifestyle that comes along with your house. So being on Cape Cod, which is a second home resort area with a lot of waterfront, like we're listing a house now on a big lake here, and we're going to bring a boat over there, and I have to put a boat on their dock. They don't have a boat. I will put a boat on their dock for the duration of the listing, which is hopefully not too long. Because truthfully, it's my wife's boat. She won't be too happy to hear. I hope she doesn't watch this. Anyway, because we put people in the boat. We were selling a house a couple of years ago, most expensive home ever sold on a lake on fresh water in this area. It was $5.5 million. It was double anything anyone else had ever sold on fresh water. And the people had a pontoon boat, which are like I'm sorry, they're the ugliest things on the water. They're the ugliest things on the water. But honestly, I got really attached to this pontoon boat because we used it for the video, we used it for the storytelling. We would just go down there and use it. It was great. We were showing the house, and whenever we showed the house, we'd take people out. So anyway, we had this one day, and the weather was good, but about to get bad. And the buyer was on a tight schedule. We looked at the house, and I said to them, would you like to take a boat ride and really see the lake and see the house on the water? And the buyer agent said, no, we don't have time. We have no time for that. We're on a tight schedule. And the buyer said, yeah, we want to go. So I said, we'll make it quick. So the buyer agent had her hands folded like this and was stomping her foot in the driveway while I took her clients out for a ride on the pontoon boat. And the way this particular property was situated, it was like a smallish cove. And then when you came around the point, it opened up into this huge view. And we could see the black clouds on the horizon coming our way with torrential rains coming in like the next 15 minutes or so. And I said, here it is. It's beautiful. So we turned around and we're going back to the dock. And the gentleman said to me, hey, Jack, do you think I could tow my grandchildren behind this boat? I said, of course you can. They would love that. House sold. Now, if we hadn't taken that boat ride, if we hadn't demonstrated the property, if we hadn't immersed them in the lifestyle of owning this particular property on a lake, no sale. There would be no sale that day. And they were ecstatic. They love the place. And so that's a story we tell during a showing. We don't just show your house, we demonstrate your house. We immerse them in the lifestyle of the property that they're contemplating purchasing.
You not only sold a house that day, but probably made the buyer want to buy a boat too. And I like the way you say you're demonstrating a house. Being able to walk them through the house and the land or water, having them envision themselves on the property.
He bought the pontoon boat.
That's amazing. I love it.
And so, for example, we can't always do that. Like we were selling a boathouse now, and we listed it in the middle of the winter, and there's more logistics with going out in the boat. So we made a separate video, a go to the beach video. So we recreated that pontoon boat situation on a different property. And so if the weather's not conducive or like it's early spring and the boat's not in the water yet, we can show them the video. It's not as good as actually taking them out in the boat, which we do, but off season, we'll show them a video. Just it's not the property. It's just, let's see what it's like to go to the beach by boat from this house. And we'll pull it up on a phone or an iPad so they can see it right there. We tell them where they can find the link on YouTube or on their property website. So the second best thing is telling a go to the beach story. So like, for example, that one boathouse that we're selling now, we probably have 5 different videos just for that house. We have the house tour, and we shot the video in like February or March. The river was frozen. And we did a whole story. You can watch it online. And then we did a river tour. We did go to the beach tour. We did like 5 different videos for that property. That's what you're doing. You're telling a story of the property. People are interested in buying this house. They'll watch videos for hours on end. You know what amazes me, not to go on and on here, but whatever. People always say, oh, your real estate video can only be 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes long. Well, I love YouTube, and I go camping with my younger son, and we have a tent that goes on top of a truck, a Jeep. We sleep on top of the roof of the truck in this tent. So we watch camping videos. And I noticed that, you know, like Airstream sells $1,000 camping trailer. It's 20,000 bucks. 20,000 bucks. That would even buy the stove in some of these houses, okay? Well, there's 1 million views on the video, and the video is 45 minutes long, and 1 million people watched it. And you're telling me they're not going to watch a 40-minute video for a $20 million house? So we started doing a short 2-minute video for our listings. Then we do a 30 to 45-minute walkthrough video of the listing. And then we do a neighborhood video for the listing. And then if there's some other thing like a go to the beach video, we'll add that as well. So there might be 4 videos for a listing ranging from 2 minutes to 40 minutes.
Oh, I confess, I would absolutely be the person who watched an hour-long open house video because I really love real estate that much.
So reels are good for reeling them in, but you want to have the content there, especially in a market like mine where the people aren't here. But you know what I'm saying? But that could be any market. And we have a short season here. My summer is only 2 months long here.
It sounds like the way you market a home has completely transformed due to technology, especially video. But aside from videos, what other technology or tools are you using to promote your listings or even to elevate the open house experience?
No, we do more high touch. I mean, open houses, the thing about videos is we can do them for so much less money than we used to. Like we met a guy at Celebration one year from Nashville who was a videographer. And we flew him up from Nashville to shoot one of our houses. He gave me a special deal. The video was 20 grand. It should have been more than that, but he gave me a super deal to break in up here. But now that $20,000 video, we can now do for probably $2,000. I mean, back then, when he did our video, it was $6,000 to rent a drone for half a day. Now you can buy a drone for $1,000. So the technology is just becoming more pervasive. But when the technology becomes more pervasive, as I mentioned in my celebration class that I taught, the bar is being raised all the time. People have less tolerance for shoddy work. So you need to spend a little bit more time on your storytelling and crafting good content. But now you can shoot it with an iPhone. I mean, Martha Stewart shoots a whole TV show with an iPhone. So you can do a lot today with a lot less and have it look really great and professional.
Oh, that's so great. You can do so much with less now. Jack, I wanted to get back to one thing that you mentioned about negotiations. You were saying there were 5 things that every agent needs to know about negotiations, and I was wondering if luxury real estate transactions differ from traditional real estate negotiations.
They really don't. They really don't. It's just the numbers, you just have to add a 0. So the negotiations are the same, just add a 0 or 2. So basically, yeah, you just have to, in the CRS negotiation class, and also in the luxury class, I touch on negotiation in the luxury class for a bit, but then I tell people you really should take the all-day CRS negotiation class with me or somebody. And so I guess I could tell you my 3 rules of negotiation if you want. They're covered in more detail in both the luxury class and the negotiation class, but I can just touch on them because I've honed down all my failures and learning experiences with negotiating into 3 rules, which are number 1, build standing, which standing is your preeminence. Standing is almost like your brand. What do people say about you when you're not around? So the more you market your expertise and convey your expertise both online and in person, the more standing you attain. How you look, how you dress builds your standing. Do you think it's easier to negotiate if you're wearing a tie or not wearing a tie? I have news for you. Wearing a tie helps. I need every advantage I can get. And so building your standing is important. Number 2, never assume. They are not like you. You are not like them. They don't want what you want, and you probably don't want what they want. But here's the thing. You have to find out what they want because most realtors assume they want what you would want. Don't assume. Number 3, be ready to walk away. Be willing to walk away. Detach from the outcome. When people in the high end see you as being married to the outcome, when you really want that commission check no matter what, they get their backs up and then you start negotiating head-to-head positional negotiating, which is very non-productive. So be willing to walk away, and sometimes you actually have to walk away. I walked away from a $22 million listing in November. I'm going to have tears if it ever closes, but be willing to walk away. Usually when you're willing to walk away, you do not have to walk away. It's very rare that you actually have to walk away. But those are my 3 rules for negotiation. We go into much more detail in both the luxury class and the all-day negotiation class.
It sounds like one of the key characteristics an agent needs is this confidence in your own skill to be able to stand strong during a negotiation, not to be intimidated in this market. So, how does an agent gain that tenacity that would help in real estate, but especially in luxury real estate?
Well, confidence comes from competence. So how do I get competent? Maybe I should take a class. Maybe I should have someone help me out. Maybe I should read some books. So you'll get a lot of confidence when you gain more competence. So learn. Gosh, I remember when I was taking these classes decades ago, my father would say, "What are you spending money on another stupid class for? I mean, you know how you get your license, you know what to do. Why do you have to learn more stuff? You never stop learning." I'm still reading books. I'm still taking classes. I still go to, Celebration, and I hear these speakers, and maybe I hear something I already heard before, but I hear it a different way, and it didn't resonate before, but it did this time. Or maybe I'm just slow, which I kind of am sometimes, and have to hear it 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 different ways. But you never stop learning. Confidence comes from competence, and competence is a journey. And the CRS journey is just an amazing one. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you enough about this, because when you take the classes, when you work towards getting your designation, that will build your confidence, because you're talking to other people who are on the same journey. And CRS designees are the most caring and sharing people in the business. And you'll build lifelong relationships. You'll meet people you can call anytime when you're facing a challenge who will drop everything and help you out. That will lead to confidence, because you're building more competence and you have another shoulder to lean on in a different market, maybe a non-competitive market. So never stop learning, never stop getting better. You're always polishing, you're always honing. Like the book says, good enough is not good enough. You always have to be getting better.
Thank you for that. Yes, education, the importance of education, that is paramount. There are so many courses that RRC offers. You shared how deeply that has impacted your career. Is there a moment as an instructor that you look back on as especially significant, something that made you feel proud of your students or about the information you're able to share?
Well, no, it's just when you're in front of a class and you're pouring your heart and soul, which I do. I pour my heart and soul to every class I teach. You can see the eyes, and you can see the eyes that are lit up, and you can see that somebody's thinking about possibilities. And then somebody emails me and tells me about a success they had using something they learned. That's just awesome. It just keeps you going. The more you teach, the better you get. And teaching builds your competence, which in turn builds your confidence and having an impact. This is my whole life. This is all I've ever done in my adult life is real estate, and getting better at it and helping other people getting better at it. That's all there is for me. That's it. For some people, real estate is a means to an end. For me, it's the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's everything to me.
That's amazing. Like just to see the transformation, the growth, your journey, the dedication, the passion that you have for this.
Right. Which is a miracle. If you ever saw what a fool idiot I was in 1974, it's truly a miracle. Truly.
So if someone feels like they're there, where you were in 1974, brand new agent just getting started, what advice would you give to them now?
It's going to sound like a commercial, but I'm telling you right now, start taking CRS classes, and don't take them in your own town. Wherever you are, figure out what's my feeder market. Where are people moving from when they come to my area? So if I'm in Atlanta and they're coming from Ohio, Cleveland, take a CRS class in Cleveland. Travel there. Meet the agents in Cleveland. They are your feeder market. They are people who can send you referrals down the road. You get to deduct a trip to Cleveland or Florida, wherever the case may be. But there's 2 parts of becoming a CRS. There's the journey and the destination. The journey is taking the classes to fulfill the requirements. That's the journey. You're going to meet incredible people along the way. You're going to meet the cream of the crop. You're going to meet the agents who are dedicated and committed to getting better in the business. They're jumping in a plane, they're staying in a hotel, they're paying money, they're sitting in a room, and they're learning stuff that makes them better in their business. Who else do you want to hang around with? You're the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most. Hang around with other people who are working to get their CRS designation, and I suggest go far away, go to your feeder markets and take those classes. Then there's a destination. That's the day you actually get that pin that you can wear that says you're a CRS. You can put those initials after your name. Your clients are not going to know what CRS stands for, but they are going to know that those initials signify the fact that you care enough about your profession that you did something above and beyond what most people do to earn the right to have initials after their name. And they may ask you what it means, but even if they don't, you should tell them what it means. You're part of the few and the proud and the brave that became a CRS designee. So that's my parting advice to you. And it sounds like a commercial. I'm sorry if it does, but I owe everything to CRS. So try it.
Jack, we're getting close to the end of our time. Do you have any other closing words or advice for our listeners?
Yeah, so technology is here. And the tools are getting more pervasive and less expensive and producing a higher quality content and output. But don't forget the high touch part. Don't forget the personal part. Don't forget reaching out and calling somebody. Don't forget going to visit somebody. Don't forget inviting somebody for lunch or for coffee and just checking in with them. I think a big thing I learned from COVID, and hopefully other people did too, is that you don't need a reason to call people anymore. Just call up and say, hey, just checking to see how you're doing. What's going on? Are you sick of this weather as I am? So yeah, just check in with people and don't leave everything to a text or a video or some other or an email or something like that. Don't forget, high touch is important also.
So, Jack, where can our listeners find you online?
Either jackcotton.com or jackcottonrealtor.com.
And of course, you are a CRS certified instructor. I'm sure some of our listeners would be very interested in taking some of your courses. Which courses are those again?
Succeeding in the luxury real estate market. And honestly, you could take it online, but why don't you just talk to your local CRS chapter and have them sponsor it in your location? I'll come there live. Then you can ask all kinds of questions. And we spend the whole day together. It's dedicated, 8 hours. It's actually 16 hours, but I do it in 8. And so let's do it. And then the other one is negotiation, which I don't teach as often, but I love it because I'm always trying to get better at it. I always feel outgunned with the people I deal with on a regular basis who are, like I said, doing deals in the billions of dollars. So yeah, we can all learn together.
Thank you for being with us today, Jack. Luxury real estate and negotiation are really popular topics that agents are interested in, so it's wonderful to have an expert able to come on and share valuable tips and advice with us.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Good to talk with you.
Thanks for being here, listeners. I hope you found the conversation with Jack Cotton to be just as interesting as I did. We'll see you next time on the next episode of the Real Estate Real Talk podcast.
Thanks for listening to Real Estate Real Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, crs.com/realtalk, to your friends and colleagues. Please leave us a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast, and be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous episodes. This has been a Residential Real Estate Council production. Join us next time for another edition of Real Estate Real Talk.